50 years ago, at the age of 18, Mario Bazan left Osaka, Mexico, and landed in Oakland, California to try to make a better living for himself. Didn't stay there long, went up to Napa, fell in love with the area, and started working for Joseph Phelps. Over the years, he worked for some very, very famous wineries, including Robert Mondavi, where he laid out and planted the Tokalan vineyard. Tonight, we learn all about vineyard management, and we do it drinking the absolutely exquisite 2016 Mario Bazan Cabernet Sauvignon. SIP episode 118 with vineyard management begins now. You know, I heard a story recently that Henry Fonda actually in his 70s would get sick before every stage performance. And I know how he feels. I understand that. Denise P, Dahlia is here. Eric is here. Hans and Caitlin are apparently not skiing, or maybe they did bang out some bumps earlier today. Peter G, Sean M, Charisse, Steve B, Stephen, just Stephen like Prince, Bono, Cher, Madonna, single name, Stephen, Dave P, Bridget, I can't say last names because what is the agency that forbids that? YouTube, I think. But either way, it's not good if I do that, and I will promise you that I'll try not to. But it is good to see all of the SIPsters. My name is Martin Cody. This is SIP episode 118. And before I begin, I want to say that there's going to be a couple of people not here this evening. One is usually behind the console, and we need to send some angel vibes out to Ivy, who had to fly to Poland to take care of a grandparent last night. So our thoughts and prayers are with her. And also Scotland and Lily are not at this evening's broadcast because they had a little problem with a burst pipe in the Chicago winter, flooded out of their condo, had to go to a hotel, got back in, and then tonight apparently he had some sort of a law holiday party, which I don't really think is a good enough excuse to miss SIP, but I'll let you guys all be the judge. Steve and Coley in the house. Steve and Coley, I have to talk to you because I have a brother named Coley, so last week you threw me. But I do want to talk a little bit about Cellar Angels. Cellar Angels is a direct-to-consumer company, exclusively in Napa and Sonoma, limited production wines, essentially the best wines coming out of Napa and Sonoma right now. Many of you are already drinking this evening's wine, and I've had a few sips out of it. It is a spectacular Cabernet Sauvignon, 100% Cabernet. I'm going to show you about it in a second. But if you don't have this wine, do yourselves a favor, either now during the broadcast or shortly thereafter, navigate to the Cellar Angels website, click on shop, click on wine, and you can just be brought to the main marketplace page for wine. And you will see that the SIP kit is right there. Now, this is one of many, many, many items on the Cellar Angels website, but you have 5 wines coming up for the next 4 Fridays. Now, I was not a math major, but that means we're opening 2 bottles on one Friday. So you can simply get this. It'll be delivered to your house. You'll be drinking with the winemakers and owners each Friday, February 3rd through March 3rd. I'm sorry. Yeah, a whole month of fun. Tonight, we have Mario Bazan and their Cabernet Sauvignon. Next week, we've got Steve and Company from Crux, and you can see what we're doing here. So this site is actually growing by leaps and bounds, and many of you have emailed us and said, I didn't even know that you had all of the wineries and stories on the website, which we do. So you can see some wines that are potentially coming up that you may not have heard of. Kaluna Vineyards we took you to last year, but all of this information is here. And one thing that I want to point out is wine education. We're always looking to help with an educational component. We've got the wine producing regions, Old World, New World, red grape varieties, all of the things you need to have to increase your education. But more importantly, a wine dictionary has hundreds of terms with pronunciations, thanks to John L. I can probably say John's last name. He's the author of the book, but all of this stuff helps increase your wine knowledge, which then leads to an increased enjoyment of this incredible beverage. If you ever have a challenge on going, well, where did I just come from? Or I need to get back home, just hit the wings. The wings will take you right back to where you need to be. And that is a quick look at the Cellar Angels website. I highly encourage you to do that. I want to talk a little bit about and Jeff and Jane opened the Bazan about 90 minutes ago, did not decant it. It is drinking wonderfully right now. So thank you for that. I would be remiss if I didn't tell the new people why you're called SIPsters and why you are called the lifeblood of the wine. That with you. You are, in fact, where'd that go? Oh, there we go. So we refer to you in Cellar Angels vernacular as heroes. And this is, you are not the Avengers, superheroes type of stuff, but the Greek stoicism. You are go back 2,000 years to the definition of hero. Protector or defender with the strength of two. You are a protector and defender of the limited production wineries. You have a choice to make, and you make it by not going to big box stores and those sorts of things. You buy direct from the wineries. That is really someone that we look up to and aspire to and want to say thank you. You are the wine heroes that we gravitate to, that we try to serve, that we try to bring great content to. And you nicknamed yourself the SIPsters. Now, Gloria and Mario don't know what a SIPster is. So a SIPster is essentially an exceptional supporter and wine ambassador. Gloria, these folks are going to come through. Someone's at the door. These folks are going to come through your new tasting room this year. Oh, someone is at the door. I thought that was a joke. Here's actually a wine delivery at 8:15 Chicago time. Oh, New York time. Pursuers of excellence, a desire to learn more, but more importantly, they are survivors. And how do I know that they're survivors? Because they grew up and they went through the 60s, 70s, and 80s where this medieval torture device was what we played on, without a helmet, mind you. And this, if anybody has ever played on this, you were flung from this at catastrophic speeds into gravel. And we're going to talk a little bit about gravel and its impact on wine, but this was normally gravel with shards of glass from the teens the night before. This was also the place to where your mom said, don't ever get your shoes muddy, and this puddle was perpetual there. The other reason why I know they're survivors is because they grew up on this device. I promise you, no matter what day it was of the week, that metal was 120 degrees. And I can already hear the sound of screeching skin on that slide. And we had no helmets. No one got a trophy, by the way, for getting down that thing. You were allowed to live. Notice it was tucked away from the forest where there could be some shade. You would get carried away with the mosquitoes in that forest, no matter the time of day, and not a parent had a can of off near them. You were left to fend for yourself. That's what the Cellar Angel SIPsters are all about. They know how to survive. They know how to protect themselves. They know how to take care of each other, and they know how to take care of wineries. And I give you a glass salute to all of you. Cherie Smith, I've kissed that contraption a couple of times. Yes, that is a dangerous, dangerous slide. Tonight, we're going to talk vineyard management. And we've talked about barrel regimen. We've talked about crop rotation. We've talked about soils, irrigation. We haven't talked about vineyard management. And this is the wizardry and orchestra that brings it all together. So I am thrilled to welcome to the program, SIP episode 118, and I will have them turn their camera on, Gloria and Mario Bazan of Bazan Cellars. There we go. Cheers. You guys have glasses, I'm sure.
Cheers.
Thank you. That tastes fantastic. It is so good to finally see you and talk with you and catch up with you. And Gloria, I'm going to ask you first. This gentleman to your left has been in the country for 50 years, been producing wine for a long, long time. For you, who has to kind of market and sell the wine, what is the most challenging aspect of the vineyard management lifestyle?
Well, there is, you never know when something is going to be needed. And especially during harvest, we call the spouses of the vineyard managers the widow harvest. The harvest of, widows of harvest. And that is, especially the first years, it was a very challenging because all of a sudden I was by myself taking two little kids, in the middle of the night, and it was quite, I'm from a city girl. I'm from the city, so a city girl all of a sudden in the middle of the, nowhere, and with two babies was a little bit of a challenge. Is that you never know, because you deal with Mother Nature, so you never know when something is going to be needed. And we try to have weekends, but also when you are in the farming business, weekends do not apply.
And Mario, give us a definition of the full range of what vineyard management is.
Well, we do from development, first we need to, study the soils. So that way we can choose the rootstock and clones or whatever variety we're gonna plant there. But also any, amendments, because we need to trying to have those soils balanced, make sure that we have adequate, that's the main theme. So that way, if it is too wet or too much clay, so we need to fix that soils because that's very very important.
And how did you decide that this was something that you wanted to do?
Well, I have learned throughout the years, being working here since the 70s. I've been working with a lot of viticulturists. They had gone around the world, and so I had the opportunity to working with them and learn from them, and so you never learn all. Every year we had to have an open mind because every year we learn something new, and so we are very proud of what we do, and so we take constantly we are taking classes and to be updated and trying to learn with the technology, and so it is so rewarding when we because also the climate is changing, so we need to adapt to the new challenges.
And how old were you when you first came to the United States?
18 years old.
So you left Mexico at the age of 18, landed in the Oakland area and decided that the city wasn't for you, and then came up to Napa Valley to start working harvests.
Correct.
And that was 1973.
73.
So how long were you working harvests before you decided that maybe I want to kind of develop my own business and contract those services out?
But it took several years since the beginning. We came from Mexico where we learned different trades. Like first, I was working with my grandfather, planting corn. Then I spent few years in Mexico City working at a grocery store, and then I
I worked at a grocery store too.
And so I learned that trade, and so by the time I left, I was a assistant manager, and so by then I knew that being a worker, it wasn't for me. I need that challenge.
So did also a point where you wanted to work outside as opposed to inside?
But when I came here, my biggest fears was that because I didn't speak the language, and my uncle wanted to find me a job in Berkeley, working in a pizzeria or something, and so I never even tried. And then he brought me here to Napa Valley, and he knew some friends, and so he introduced me to them. And in the 70s, it wasn't like today. It was very challenging to find a job. It was very few big companies like it was Christian Brothers or Behringer or Bueller. It was very few big companies, and so when I came, I started working with a lot of small growers.
Wow, and so you leave your home at 18, you come, thankfully you have an uncle, you don't speak the language, and you're looking for a job. And what was the first job you got in Napa?
At Joseph Phelps, the first job was to start moving. In those days, they used to use potable irrigation. So my first job was to start moving those pipes every day, every morning. And Joseph Phelps was brand new, so it was open a new land. So we had to cut branches and pick out rocks, and do the whole
That's
thing.
a good point, because yeah, Joseph Phelps was starting right around that time. So you helped clear the land of the vineyard?
Where the winery is.
Yeah.
And when I started, they have a land by the river. There was no trees, but then where the winery is now, it was a better land. So we started clearing those lands there.
It's amazing how many stories we've heard that have a Joseph Phelps connection. I mean, the Hursleys are one where Adam started out there in kind of a wine apprenticeship program, another very, very small winery. But I'm remiss because I never got to meet Mr. Phelps, but I just hear wonderful stories about him and his kindness.
Yes, of course. In those days, we didn't work directly with him. We used to work with the manager.
Right. And how long were you at Joseph Phelps?
Only for a year. The reason I left because the reason I came to this country, I wanted to save a couple of $1,000s to go back to Mexico, and so I started Joseph Phelps, like let's say in May, and then we went to Oregon to thin some apples, and then come back and start working with Sterling for harvest.
Unbelievable. So you're working different harvests in different states. You come back down to Napa, you work at Sterling. And was there inkling, because now you're 19 or 20, did you ever, I mean, when did you start imagining vineyard management?
Not until 90, let's say 92, 93, because at that time I was working with Robert Mondavi, and
Heard of them?
And the reason I started thinking of how my own business, because I was a vineyard a supervisor there, and then because I didn't have I didn't graduate from school, and so many other people used to come and be up on top of me, and so it seems like for me I stopped growing there. I was
Okay.
tall. And so I started kind of thinking of doing my own business, because I only, in those days, I knew how to do the work, but I didn't know any of the running a business.
Yep. It's interesting though, because you probably didn't see it in yourself, or you were not able to identify it as the word, but you were quite an entrepreneur at a very, very early age. I mean, you had the gumption to leave your home, not speak the language, and come to the United States at the age of 18. That's incredible. And that takes a tremendous amount of courage, bravery, and gumption, and really something to be proud of. And then to start your own business, but just not know the business aspect, I think is also something. And I'll get into a little bit more about that in a second. But I want to know when you two met. So, Gloria, why don't you tell me about how did he first capture your heart?
Well, we met in 2003 through the internet, early online dating. Now it's very common to hear couples that met through the internet. But at that time, I was in Mexico. I was born and raised in Mexico, and practiced pediatric dentistry for 15 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In the city of Morelia. I'm from Michoacan. Morelia is the capital. And at that time, I started to do some international traveling, and I wanted to practice more English. And I thought that site could help me, people will be in other parts of the world and I will be safe in my office. But then Mario contacted me and he asked me for my phone number. And I told him, well, I'm not confident to speak in English yet. Why don't we know each other a little bit better, correspond each other a little bit and know each other better. And then I might give you my phone number. And then he answered me back, well, why don't we speak in Spanish? So The rest is
Very nice.
history. I
And so
ended up giving him my phone number.
I was just going to say, so how many internet correspondence later was the correspondent over the phone?
No, it wasn't much. It was probably at the second time he insisted in having my phone number. And after we met a little bit, I understood why, because he, for him to be typing, it was quite, it took a lot of time. And also the site was incredibly slow. You will
that's right.
type something and it will take a while to get to see an answer. So very, very slow. And so probably he was like, he didn't have the patience to be, typing in. For him was easier just to grab the phone and
I feel his pain. And by the way, there's a whole bunch of people that are calling Mario's dating technique very smooth, I see in the chat. And also Dahlia and her significant other, Mike, also met on the internet. And my brother, who is now engaged, met his spouse on the internet. So it is becoming certainly much more popular than I think when you're talking about in 2003, 2004. And you're right. I could see you typing an answer, and I'm going to put myself in Mario's shoes because I'm the guy. But you type an answer and you're waiting there or you type a question, you're waiting for the answer, and you start, all sorts of bad thoughts start going through your head. Did she walk away from the computer? Did she hang up on me? Why is nothing happening?
It was, so bad that you basically could be chatting with 5, people, and then go to your kitchen, fix you a coffee or a tea, come back, and you will start seeing, oh, this one answer, this answer back. It was just so
very cute. I like it.
It was funny. Yeah.
So Gloria, you were a dentist in Mexico for 15 years.
15 years. Yes.
I think everyone wants to know, what can we do about grape stains on our teeth?
Nothing. Well, yeah,
I always thought vodka was the trick.
Yeah, vodka is a trick. Well, what happened with the stains are pretty much, just on the surface. So if you brush your teeth very well, it won't stain. But it's part of the charming part. I always said to my customers, before I was trying to keep people's teeth white. Now I'm trying to turn them purple.
That is absolutely, I love that. And it is a charming part until, the officer on Soskel asks you, have you been drinking? And your teeth are purple. I mean, that's never good.
Well, yeah, that's true.
So Mario, when did you start the vineyard management company? In 1997. So 24 years after you arrived in the United States, you're 32 years of age and you start your own business.
It's correct.
It's incredible.
And in that way I started, I started very, very small, but also my previous boss, Amandavi, he started recommending some clients, and also Michael Salachi, he used to work for Bazan Cellars. He was another champion me, and so he started recommending me. He's and so my business is about, I never went and knocked doors. Every client that I have is from someone else that recommend me.
Wow, that's incredible. It's a huge testament. I've got a couple questions from the audience. One individual who we know is a wine aficionado has a question that says, this wine has similar characteristics to Mexican wines, example, Casa Madero. Is this intentional?
No. No, actually, we only, we never tried to match another style, but the classic idea to showcase what we have, or what the season provides us, or what we have, the vineyard shows. So we don't try to, to try to match other styles or wines out there.
Because here, every site is different. So
Right.
so the area where we are is very different than, say Oakville or Calistoga or St. Helena. And so we need to make the wine that the grapes give us here.
And so brings me to a question, like Oakville, Rutherford, St. Helena. Do you ever, in the back of your mind, what varieties and what rootstock and what soils are going to produce great wine? Do you ever want to try an experiment to see if something will work, or do you kind of stick with what will work with what?
Well, that's why we had the ABAs here in Napa, and we know what, in the 70s, 80s, you plant all varieties out and
Right.
everywhere. But now we define the areas what it grows better.
Good. And also, do you have a favorite type of wine that you like to make or drink from Steve? And is there a particular variety that you won't work with?
But we had to listen also to the consumer, but also here in Napa, because we had to stick, mostly our cabs, because the land is so expensive that we can plant in say Chenin Blanc or Moscato or those varieties, because Napa Valley is, we discovered there is a Cabernet King here. And so we use other varieties like, Merlot or Cabernet Franc or something that, that you can blend with the cab. But, we know that we will have to stick with the cabs here.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Gloria, as good as Gloria is in selling, it would be very tough to plant Chenin Blanc and sell a $90 Chenin Blanc on the cost of the acreage.
And to me, I'm a Cabernet lover. And the reason is because we started making Cabernet, and when we started making wine in 2005, I just had moved from Mexico and I didn't know anything about wine. And when Mario, I knew Mario wanted to start to make wine. And when we started making wine, I started focusing on learning about Cabernet, not just wine, but about Cabernet. Right. So I trained my palate to enjoy Cabernets, and after I did that, I kind of have to learn to enjoy other varieties that are. It was hard because a Cabernet, you feel it. It's those tannins are a tactile experience. So I'm a Cabernet lover. I always said, because I get this question, what is your favorite wine? And my answer is the one that I have in my glass. But if you give me the chance to choose, then I will say I will have a Cabernet.
Awesome. I'm the exact same way. All right, I'm going to launch a couple other questions for the audience. And if I haven't said hello to Nick, to Marina, Lori, good to see you. Kent D, Karen, always good to see you. Jim B, thanks for jumping in. Michael, I'm sorry, who? Jeff and Jane said that already, Mission Control. So let's take a poll here, because we are now celebrating the 50th anniversary of Mario's arrival in the United States. To celebrate that 50th year in the US, Bazan Cellars is releasing a red blend from fruit of his former employers, Opus, Stag's Leap, and Bazan Cellars Estates, a sparkling wine. I don't see anybody voting, by the way. So do they have the ability to vote? Oh, there we go. 50 cases with custom seal from Bazan Estate, or 50 bottles of Reposado tequila. So we're going to give the audience a little time. I'm glad they found the tequila comment funny, because I like that. Perfect answer, Gloria, on the Cabernet answer with regards to what you like to drink. And congratulations to you for getting your palate in fine tune with the most prolific Cabernet region in the world. That's very intelligent. All right, we're going to give this 5, 4, 3. Who hasn't voted yet? I can see all of you. 2, 1. Okay, so gosh, I hope you're going to produce a tequila, because no one has that answer. But in celebration of the 50th anniversary of your arrival, what is Bazan going to be releasing? Gloria?
We're releasing a sparkling wine.
Who had sparkling? Which two people had sparkling wine? And see, Hans and Caitlin, by the way, they said, hold up, I would definitely buy your tequila if you decide to produce one. So what is the sparkling wine going to be, the base?
It is, it's a Pinot Noir, right?
Pinot Noir.
It's a Pinot Noir. It's a Pinot Noir.
You could actually just say it's a surprise.
It's a surprise. Got me out of phase on that question. Yeah, I'm very excited about it, and it's gonna be under our Rama label, and it's the label is just, I'm so, it's gonna be so beautiful, and I can't wait to release it. We still are in the process of the design and all that with the label, but it's Rama, and if you go to our website, you probably will see our Rama Cabernet, but it's going to be very, very different colors, and very celebratory for this 50 Mario's anniversary. At this point, we don't know if we are going to keep it going. It's something that we decided just to have this celebration, but probably it's going to be a product that we were going to continue depending on how people receive it.
And Mission Control just threw a link in that you should click on, and then I'm sorry, 3 links. And then the one from Napa Valley Wine Project, Dave, good friend of ours, the great project, by the way, he's tasted about 900 different wines in Napa Valley and writes extensively about them. I literally was just texting him yesterday, but that is, I'm excited about the sparkling. Do you know when we will be able to taste / purchase it?
I'm hoping March.
Okay, that's right around the corner.
But definitely we are going to have it ready for May, when May is officially the anniversary of Mario getting here in the Valley. He got here in May. Do you remember when you got here? It was May, but do you remember when in May?
Around May 15.
May 15.
I
So
like
yeah,
it.
we are going to have a dinner to celebrate that in our new tasting room, and by 10 it should be ready.
I like it. I'm very, very excited, and congratulations again. And Mario, this next question is for you. The most challenging aspect of vineyard management is my wife knows how to use a blowtorch, the increasing amount of invasive insects, telling owners bad news about the vineyard, or it's actually not difficult work. I work with the land and love what I do. So don't answer yet. And by the way, for those of you that don't believe me that Gloria knows how to use a blowtorch, I've got a picture for you. And as we say, we drink serious wines at Cellar Angels. We just don't take ourselves too seriously, because wine is supposed to be fun. So I need about 6 more answers. And I know Eric and Jim are going to let it all ride, because they're the only 2 that got the answer correct last time. And the Angels, Mission Control, and I, we don't know the answer. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Only 2 people think you're afraid of Gloria. Increasing amount of invasive insects has got a few. And this kind of gets back to, I think, what you said a little bit ago with regards to climate change and all the different variables that you have to factor in and manage in a vineyard. Telling owners bad news about the vineyard, or is it really not that difficult at all? You just love what you're doing. Or another answer, it might not be there.
I like to go with that. It's not difficult. I work with the land doing what I love.
Oh, good. And by the way, Cherie says if Gloria knows how to use a blowtorch, I'd stay on her good side. So I know you love doing what you love, but when you say start to finish, and it's from a vineyard management standpoint, you, at the very, very beginning, I guess on the front end is you get with the person and they have a plot of land that may not have been planted. That's a potential project. Or you can start somewhere in the middle where someone that has vines and he's switching or she's switching vineyard management companies, and you come in and you've got to assess that. So it can run the gamut, right?
Yes, but that's for me, that's I love challenges, and
You must.
yes, it's part of what I love. It's what I love to do for my clients. And like I say, when someone transfer a land in the middle of the season or something, I kind of work for that year before I make any recommendations.
Okay.
Finish the season, and then I will come in and do any recommendations to improve. But also, like right now, this is the time that I visit the wineries with the clients to taste the wines of last year, to see what we need to do this coming season to improve the quality of because that's our goals, to improve the quality every year.
So every year you look at what you have from the previous year. So you're going right now in January and February and tasting with the winery owners the previous years. It's still in barrel more often than not. And you're assessing it. And at first I would imagine it's extremely difficult to assess something that is still in the womb to a degree that, you don't know what this wine is going to be in 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 years. But you're basing your assessment on that tasting for this coming growing season?
Yes, because then we share, how we taste the wines, and putting together about each the owner, the winemaker, and myself, and then from there we can, okay, this is what we need to do to, and we assess sometimes. Let's say an owner sells the grapes to 5 different wineries, and so we taste all those wines, and so that's why we know each block what it produces.
And how many clients do you have right now?
It's about around 22 right now.
That's a lot. How do you handle disputes with the owner?
Take responsibility. Sometimes, when if something, because I delegate most of the work through my supervisors and employees, and something doesn't come out correctly, I will take responsibility and make sure that the client is happy.
Do you ever? You take probably, I'm sure, great notes on the client made this decision on January 12th. I said no. So then the next year, when it doesn't turn out, you can point to your notes and say, I told you so. Has that ever?
No, we work as a team.
And do you like to work with certain winemakers that or does it matter?
It doesn't matter, because for me, the more I work with different winemakers, I learn more.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you're always learning. So we've all heard, read, seen pictures of the torrential rain that California has received this month. And it is part of being a Mediterranean climate. You want your rain in January and early, but this year you've seen have gotten an entire year's worth of rain right now. So what's happening in January and February, in the vineyard right now for you?
Well, right now we only do pruning. And so the vines are dormant, and so all these amounts of rain, it will not hurt the vines. By mid-March and at the end of March, we want, because the vines love well-drained soils.
Okay.
And so many places we have we install drainage, and so that's why in Napa the hillsides are much better for quality, because it drains natural. But on the flats, we install drainage to make sure that it's not more than, and the vines don't need that much water for the quality.
Interesting. So the vines are dormant right now, and this much water doesn't really bother them?
No, not at all.
All right, you just don't want this much rain in March.
No, because then the growing season will increase the vines will grow more. So that's why the wines can be taste more green.
Okay.
And so like I don't know if you recall 2011 when we have and that year I think we have like 48 inches of rain, but we have rain all the way through June. In June we had 2 big storms, and so that year we have a lot of growth on the vines, and so we don't want that much vegetation on the vines.
And you have 22 clients. What size range are they? I mean, what is a medium client? What's a large client? What's a small client?
The smallest client, let's say, had 2 acres to 5 acres, but then we have 15, 20. The biggest client that I have is 110 acres.
Whoa! And who's that?
It called Shady Brook.
Shady Brook, sure. Yep. Is Rudy their winemaker?
Yes.
Young little whippersnapper.
I love working with Rudy.
Yeah, he's a stud. 110 acres is huge. How do you pick you said you don't knock on doors, you don't canvas, you haven't tried cold calling people, and all of your clients are word of mouth referrals. So what do you think separates you from other vineyard management companies in the Valley?
I think take responsibility, but also we respect each other, and so to me, for the experience that I got through Mondavi and Stockley Wine Cellars, and recently, I just do my own thing, but I also like to share with anybody else that asks for my opinion. I will share my experience with anybody else, so I don't feel different from people.
I like it. And so, Gloria, you have the task of selling whatever Mario makes, and you're at what's case production right now?
We produce right now. We are around 1,200 cases.
Okay. And what threshold of cases, and I'll ask Gloria this first because Mario probably has a different answer. Does it go from manageable and a nice job to, okay, this is a heck of a lot of work?
I will go through the third option. It's a lot of work.
It doesn't matter the volume. It's always a lot of work.
It doesn't matter the volume. Always is a lot of work and always is a challenge because the economy and the marketplace also is changing constantly. And sometimes I think I have figured out things, and all of a sudden another challenge comes on the way. And but the part that probably on what I do, the one that I enjoy the most is when I sell direct, when I'm directly talking to my consumer, because I have a face, right? It's not just a number. When I'm working on the wholesale part, is just a number. How many cases this area, what we're sold in this area, and I see an amount of money, right? But when I'm selling direct, I have the opportunity to talk about our brand, to share Mario's story, to inspire people, and that is the most rewarding part for me. And it's the reason why we jump into the challenge to open a tasting room in 2019. That actually we started the planning since 2018. It took us months to open the space because it was a brand new building and it still was in construction. And then all of a sudden we have the challenge of COVID, and that happened when our tasting room was just getting some momentum and moving, and all of a sudden we have to close. But it's still, I didn't give up because I think as I said, having the opportunity to talk directly with the people who is going to enjoy our wine is what makes me very happy. And I don't find that work or as a job. I just find like I'm doing something that I love. I get to the tasting room and I feel like I'm in my happy place.
I get to tasting rooms. I feel the same way, by the way. Absolutely. And look at all these happy faces. Thankful that you are deciding to pursue this. So we're thrilled for it. I am curious, Mario, you mentioned 22 different clients. How many different varieties are you making across that 22?
Let's say 8 varieties. Most of it's Cabernet.
Yep.
You know, we have Chardonnay. We have some Pinots.
And mostly Chard, or mostly Cabernet, Chard, and Pinot. Any Merlot?
We have very little Merlot, and we have a Sauvignon Blanc.
Ooh, interesting. Very nice.
Oh yeah, one of my clients has a Ribolla Gialla.
The only vineyard in Napa that has Ribolla Gialla, probably.
Wow. I'd never even heard of it. That's fantastic. Why don't I show you what I was talking about with regards to just the loveliness of this couple? So I would like to know, is that staged? Because there's no way that wine's getting in that glass.
No, actually, what we didn't do that with that cloth or with that, clothes. We did it in the patio, and both of us were waiting, worrying. We were covered, our clothes were covered. And then we went back inside, and it's when we took just the photo like that. But actually doing these with the bottle, I was doing that. So
and you guys didn't believe me that she knows how to use a blowtorch. Why? I mean, I look at this and I was going to caption it, Gloria, with the caption over here that said, Mario, you told me you'd be home at 5 o'clock. But
well, that Mario is, I started when I moved to Napa. I found a class of glass beads, how to make glass beads. And before I had been in Venice, and I absolutely love how color is is shown in glass. I think if there is a medium that really shows colors in a beautiful way is glass. So when I came here and I was, I didn't have friends, I didn't know anyone but Mario, I signed up to that class, and I never left the studio. I came back to every single class that they were offering. And when the economy crashed in 2010, the studio was closed, and then I started traveling and going to other places to take classes of glass making.
Super cool. I agree with you. And you're right. Glass actually represents colors so vividly and wonderfully. And all you need to do is travel to Europe and walk inside any church to see that they've known this for about 1,000 years.
Yeah. So that's why I work with a torch, and it's how you melt the glass and make the beads. And yeah, it's super fun.
And this last picture, I think, this is where Mario is basically saying, look, she finally answered my email question on the computer.
No, I will let Mario to talk about that photo.
Yeah, that photo, we were laying out a new vineyard at Mandavi in 1988. And we are making the main line to start the new block there.
But it wasn't just one vineyard, it was Tokalon vineyard.
Ah, so you're laying out Tokalon. Interesting.
Yes.
And now you talk about all the changes in vineyard management, and one of them you mentioned was technology. Are they still putting in fence stakes like this and using manual to go ahead and move the stake?
No, we use lasers.
Lasers, and I'm sure there's a tractor that pulls this tight.
Right. We don't have to use that technique anymore.
Yeah, there's no insurance for that technique anymore
That's
because
right.
the doctors were like, "What are you doing?" No, that is fantastic. And I did hear someone very gently request Google Earth. So look at Karen, don't encourage them. No. All right. So let's show you where everything is and where the magic happens with Gloria and Mario. We all recognize the diminishing polar ice cap, but the Earth. And so there's a couple things highlighted with the aspect of wine country. So I'll do that right here. And Mario and Gloria know that we specialize in Napa and Sonoma, but some of you may not. So this is Cellar Angels Playground and has been since 2010. So for the last 13 years, we're bringing you arguably the best wines coming out of Napa and Sonoma right now. And we encourage you to taste the thrill because these wines are undiscovered. We used to have, and sometimes still, and I can show you this bottle, you know, it's got no hashtag. I'm sorry, it's got no barcode on the back because it's not in distribution. You're not going to find it unless you go to the tasting room, which I'm going to show you, or you happen to get it through Cellar Angels. But this is Napa County. This is Sonoma County, not drawn to scale. So any of the geologists out there may jog somewhere over here. But we tell everybody any wine region around the world is going to be close proximity to a body of water. One of the things that makes Napa and Sonoma so special is their proximity to many bodies of water, not only the Pacific Ocean, the San Pablo Bay, you got Lake Hennessy, you have all the rivers and tributaries that run through, and then factor in kind of the outside the doorstep of Mario and Gloria's home is Atlas Peak, all of these volcanic activities that have blown their tops over the years and have just spread wonderful nutrient-rich soils across the valley. And then you've got millions of years of erosion, and you have the foothills that we're talking about with regards to this estate vineyard. But I wanted to show you, and I'll pan back a little bit, but show also kind of, this is a little bit on the edge, not only of the golf courses you see, but right on the edge of the foothills. So Mario, tell us why this type of land is so special in the Coombsville region for Cabernet.
Because we get the nice breeze from the San Pablo Bay every evening. And also over the hills of the Sonoma Valley, we get the fog during winter, but also during the growing season, especially in, let's say August, September, when it's pretty very hot, we get a nice fog over the hills. And so during the day, those vines work hard, but during a night, all the fog and cool air have them rested. Is where the grapes start getting all the nice flavors and colors.
And
also,
go ahead.
But also the soils that we have, the volcanic soils that we have.
Okay, so the volcanic soils are huge. How big is your estate vineyard?
It's Plante is only 1.25 acres.
So I'm one of the small customers.
I was just going to ask, are you one of your small customers of less than 2 acres?
I'm one of the smallest customers, but one of the most difficult too.
So here's that estate vineyard. And this is 1.25 acres?
Yes.
And how old are the Cabernet vines?
We planted in 2006.
Who's got a calculator? So that's 17 years old?
Yes.
And then, Mario, what is your philosophy on vine age and replanting? And I'll pause there because I see a lot of vineyards pull Cabernet out after 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and replant because the vine is producing less clusters. What is your philosophy?
Well, my philosophy is that we need to give the vines what they need, but also the way I prune, because my plan, when you plant a new vineyard, you plan for those vines to live 25, 30 years, but we had to give them the nutrients they need, and you can make, especially using compost, more organic matters on the fields, and you can make those vines live 30, 40 years if you take care of the vines. It's like you taking care of your body. If you take care of your body, you will have the energy and continue, producing. The same thing with the vines. And sometimes when you have to replant a vineyard, it's because they found a disease and the quality is not there. And so they need to prepare the soil better and pick out the right rootstock.
And MJ, you're correct. This is Silverado Country Club right here. So it's just outside of Silverado Country Club. The tasting room, the new tasting room is here. And you're looking at, Gloria probably knows this in her sleep.
First and Main. Yeah, First and Main.
So
it's
you're
gonna be, right now we are on Clinton Street till the end of this month. But we are moving to First and Main, and we're hoping, right? Because you never know with all the licensing and little renovation that we're doing, if we are gonna meet the deadline. But we're hoping to be ready to open our doors mid-February in the new location.
Right. So the new tasting room is 3 miles away from the estate vineyard.
Yes.
And the new tasting room is fantastic. I'll zoom in there in a second, but it's also from my preferred hotel, the Wine Valley Lodge. And if you haven't stayed at the Wine Valley Lodge, the last time I stayed there, because Cellar Angels is on a budget, it was $59. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying it's $59. It's claim to fame, by the way, true story. Elvis stayed there. So that's on the marquee. But let's go look at the tasting room, because I want to show folks, this is in the Happening District.
Right there.
Right there. So the new tasting room is right here. In fact, you can actually see, now this is the old door. So Gloria has already put in new doors that say Bazan Cellars right across the bridge.
Yeah. It's right the bridge. That's the location. It has that is obviously a photo of Google has the previous business there, but the door is not going to be green. The door is going to be a terracotta color matching our logo, and yeah, but is that corner. The building is named First and Main. And it's a big building, but yeah, I'm super excited. We are gonna be just in the middle of everything.
And yeah, I mean, all of you that know downtown Napa, you've got the Archer Hotel right here. You've got the Andes Hotel right here. You've got the Napa River Inn just a little bit down over here on the water. Just a perfect location if you're staying in downtown Napa to walk to the tasting room. And you've got some of the Cellar Angels friends right on the main street here. So we are super excited for that to open up and can't wait. And it's bigger than your other space, which is amazing.
Much
Congratulations.
bigger. In the other space, we had around 500 square foot. In this space, we are going to have 1,500.
Wow. So 3 times the size.
3 times the size. We are going to have a little kitchen. So my passion for food and wine pairing, we are going to be able to do something on that aspect. We also, you're the first to know, we are going to have a way to do barrel tastings in the room.
Ooh, now you're talking.
Yeah,
now you're speaking my language.
Obviously, we are not going to have the huge barrels because it will be very complicated to, bring them in and out for cleaning and risky. But we are going to have a system where we are constantly going to be bringing fresh of barrel, and it was something that I had in mind for a while, and now I'm super excited that we are going to be able to do that.
I want you to tell me about the label.
The label was inspired. Mario's from Oaxaca, Mexico. And when we met our designer, that, by the way, is she had designed a lot of very well-known brands here in the Valley. Mario asked her to have something clean and elegant. And she laughed, and then she said, okay, Mario, there's many ways to accomplish that. You need to tell me a little bit more. And I said, you know, I think Mario's from Oaxaca, and it's a region so rich in culture, and you find, you know, these all these arts and crafts, all these different indigenous people who, you know, make the cuisine and all the arts that are happening there, that I really would like to see that reflected on the label. So she inspired the logo and all the embroidery that the women do in their traditional clothing and textiles. And that it's, you know, they used a lot of birds and flowers. You see them all, you know, they're very bright colors. But we picked the colors of Mario's hometown little village, that when he was a kid, the most of the housing was made of adobe with white plasters and tile roofed. So the colors come from there, and the winds and the flower comes from all that embroidery that the women do, inspiring nature.
And I've got like 4 more things to talk to you about, and I apologize that the network's going to have to wait. But let's talk a little bit about, we talked about what's going on right now in technically winter. Spring, give me, Mario, what kind of happens, and when do you start getting a little excited that spring is, you know, and you start seeing bud break? What's happening to the vines then in the vineyards?
In March, usually we know more or less, depends on the winter, how, you know, how cold or warm is. We know usually we expect bud break by mid-March.
Okay.
Start the white varieties. And then but then let's say in April, 1st and 2nd week, then we start seeing the Cabernet bud break.
And then do you have in your head, when you see bud break on, say, March 15th for Cabernet, that, you know, 100 days from now it's going? I mean, do you map it out that much based upon all your years on when you think you're going to be harvesting?
But on the white varieties, the cab, that's why for us so important that we like to let them hang as long as possible on the vine. We don't like to, it all depends, you know, and what ABA, because on the hillsides, it gets warmer faster. So we have a bud break first there. But then throughout the year, we can manage the vines to not to mature the grapes so fast. We want them to let it hang a little long as possible. And so by then, we that's why it's important to know how many pounds can you leave on the vine, so they because if you leave too many grapes, it will take a lot longer to mature the grapes. So it's very it's kind of a magic to learn how many pounds can vine can mature. Let's say by mid October.
Right. That's a tough one. And then anything related to canopy management that you recognize as early on, as far as so much sunshine and you're going to have to really dial that back in? Is it just an ever-changing process every single day based upon whether Mother Nature sends you?
But now, you know, remember in the, if you're familiar here in the 80s, we wanted to have more sun exposure to the grapes. Now it's the other way around. Now we need to create like an umbrella to protect those clusters from the direct sun. So now we use a different kind of trellis to create that umbrella because especially with the climate changing right now, that the hot can be. So like last year in September, we have a few days about 119 degrees where you can cook the grapes. And so we need to start changing our ways of farming here. So it's a very challenging, but it's very rewarding because we find, okay, we cannot project, we had to be ready for any changes.
All right. Mission Control is ordering me to pour myself yet more wine, but also, Gloria, I want you to go through flavors, aromas, and pairings that we always do with the 2016 Cabernet. So what do you get on the nose?
I definitely, I guess, what it's very classic in our here from our vineyard, that I get the coffee, the vanilla, I get a little bit of earthiness, because our 2016 is blended with a little bit of a Cabernet from Kunzville. And the Kunzville AVA, we are in between. We are Valley Floor, but you already showed in the Google map, we are in between into Atlas Peak, and across the street is Kunzville. So the vineyard across the street is Kunzville. My vineyard is still Valley Floor, or our vineyard. So, but let's say we get basically a combination of the two AVAs here, and I like it a lot, that little earthiness that we get from the fruit of Kunzville, and but especially, and I would like our guests today to put attention in something that I love in our wine, that is that floral component. It's very elegant. Some people pick them as violets, other people pick them as a rose petal, but that's an element that when we blend with the Kunzville fruit, we are always trying to keep that, because if you put a lot of Kunzville fruit, then the earthiness is going to take over that delicate component, and I absolutely love it. And it's something that I would like everybody to take, to put attention today on it.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, Jeff hit upon it. The 2016 has opened up wonderfully throughout the evening, and it does have an understated elegance, in my opinion. It has that finesse and that power of Cabernet, but it also is extremely well balanced. And each, it sounds kind of poetic. Each note is singing individually, and together they're just perfect. Anything on prior vintages, the 14 to 15, that I know some folks have that you can, how are they tasting right now?
Yeah, 15 actually, it's very interesting. I think 15 now is it's doing very beautiful. It took a while for it to wake up, and actually in the tasting room, I put it back, and then I released the 16, and I saved some 15 because I thought it needs a little bit of more time. And it's so super interesting when you are every year is like having a kid, right? Every kid is different, and you get to know what you have. And as the wine ages in the bottle, it starts changing. And it's the same like kids. As they're growing, they're changing. And to me, one of the wines that now I super enjoy having is the 2011. Because the 2011, it was, as Mario was talking before, it was such a difficult growing season. And everybody was just thinking about the green notes and the the bell pepper. And I says, well, yeah, it's going to come out. And a few years ago, those 2011 started just showing so beautiful, and they are different. I think that year that it was difficult give us the opportunity to create wines that we usually don't have in the valley, right? Because we don't have that kind of cold and rainy long season like they do in France. And so but it's funny how to me it's funny and very interesting how every wine has its own personality. Every vintage has its own personality, and it's gonna evolve in a different way. Right now, to me, the 16, I think is doing beautiful. It's still very young. It's still a wine that can give you a lot, through the years. My favorite pairing is the lamb. I always love lamb with Cabernet. Obviously, any rich red meat or a dish, but I absolutely love my Cabernet with a lamb. For people who is vegetarian, I told him put some vegetables on the grill, and that smokiness is gonna just do wonderful with the Cabernet. So yeah, that's I always get very excited about food. In our last dinner that we had with our club members, we did pair this wine with Oaxacan mole. With instead of a chicken as meat, we used the how it's called, the ribs, the short ribs, and it was just so wonderful. And yeah, we love to play with food and wine.
Okay, I have like just 9 more questions.
Okay.
Just teasing. This one is actually for Mario. If you weren't doing this vineyard management, what would you be doing? And you're not allowed to say internet dating.
Mariachi.
Well, no, this is I invest all my whole life, and so I don't. I'm 67 years old, and I'm not planning to retire soon. Still.
Good. All right. And then for both of you, if you could share one glass of your wine with any individual, living or dead, who would it be?
I think I will do it with my dad.
Is he living?
He will be very happy, but for me to do something that is very different, I don't know how happy he would be for me to have quit my career, but at this point today, I think he will be very, very proud for what I have accomplished in this industry, because to me it was like start all over again, start a new career, and I see that as a great opportunity that I had in life. When I was, when I chose my first career at age 18, I never imagined that my life will change this way. And I think he will be very interested in learning from me about, what I'm doing, but also we could have a wonderful conversation about the history of the industry in the States, because he was a historian, and how, the industry in America has been hidden by the phylloxera, and then later for, I can't remember which one happened right now, but also by the prohibition. And I think he will be fascinated to talk about prohibition in America. So I would do it with him.
Interesting. Mario, anybody in particular?
Yeah, right now with the audience that are, sharing with us tonight, that, because to me, I love when people give me, they share with me how they're tasting the wine. So to me, we right now with all the audience right now.
Oh, that's awesome. Very nice. And Eric and Klein's, was your daughter holding up tasting notes? Was that what that was? Or maybe some wine region notes that they're reviewing? Awesome. I like that. Perfect. Kids, you've done it again. And Mario and Gloria, thank you so much. I apologize for going over. Last week, I missed the entire closing and I had to send an apology email. This week, I missed the entire opening. So the quiz question was won by Napa Valley AVA 1981 was the first. What was the first designated sub-appellation? The answer was Howell Mountain. The winner was Chad Angelo, but Chad is not here. So we go on to the next one. Brent H. Is Brent here? So now we go to third. Jeff G is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Awesome, awesome work. There you go. And I also want to talk about the kindness in a closing comment. Earlier this week, one of the angels CC'd me on a message to Christy Coors, thanking her for a Petite Syrah wine that they learned about through Cellar Angels. And that is that type of 4-minute gesture of random act of kindness that made my day. I'm sure made Christie's day at Goose Cross, and that's what the angels are all about. Keep in mind, folks, 1984, Steve Jobs said, it's the crazy ones, the square pegs in the round holes. Don't ever doubt that those people can change the world, because they're the ones that do. Next week, as I said, the Crux Boys are on. You can find your SIP episodes and library of videos in YouTube that Mission Control has put in. Steve Grove. And we're going to be talking about, Mario, this is right up your alley. We're going to be talking about native versus cultured yeasts for fermentation and inoculation. So another riveting subject that I think will surprise a few people. Mission Control has a question. Oh, there are still club wines available. And don't forget, wine club members, you get 10% off of club wines. So all of you, Mario and Gloria, we are indebted. I can't wait to see the new tasting room. Can't wait to taste the sparkling. Can't wait to finally tip a glass with the two of you. Angels, you rock out. Dave Phelps, that's impressive. Very good. Oh, I thought that was your live studio audience. It's a picture. I like it still. That's it. Hey, there's Mario, and very cute. Awesome.
So,
all right, everyone, be good to one another. We are doing this. Cheers. Have a great weekend.
Cheers.
cheers.